For the longest time, I have been in love with old retro games. And it's not just something that came about in my teenage years. I've been like this even from a young age. I was entranced by the idea of playing old games I missed out on just because I was born too late to experience them when they were new. All these old Nintendo consoles came out when I wasn't even born yet. Granted, I definitely had plenty of great games to play. My first ever console was the PlayStation 2, and not long after that, I got my hands on a DS and the Wii. So it wasn't like I wasn't getting to play anything that was good. I just wanted to go back and play what I had missed out on, and I would watch hours upon hours of videos on YouTube of Let's Plays and gameplay videos of old games I dreamed of owning myself one day. And then one day, I got a birthday present from my dad. I opened it up, and I got a Nintendo 64. And then all of a sudden, my gaming palette was expanded. The N64 became like my favorite thing ever. And believe me, I thought I was hot shit for owning a retro game console in the 2010s. And it was more than just the coolness factor of having the 64. I had a damn good library too. Super Mario 64 obviously caught my attention immediately, because while I had the DS remake, this was the original Mario 64. This game was so important and impactful to gaming as a whole that I probably sunk countless hours into it, right? Actually, not that much, if you could believe it. What really did it for me was the original Mario Party. There's no telling how much time I sunk into this game, just trying to get enough stars to unlock the final board, and just having a great time playing the game with my brother. We would play this forever. And we only recently unlocked the final board a few years ago. And every now and then, we could talk more and more people into playing Mario Party with us. And that was always a great feeling to get more people to play games that you were passionate about. And to this day, Mario Party 1 is probably the game I have the most nostalgia for of any game ever. And all the boards are really fun just because how quickly the game can go from loving you to completely screwing you over.
They should have called it Wario Golf. Go, I missed.
Especially if you're playing on Wario's Battle Canyon. It definitely feels like a war zone here. This one's rough. And Yoshi's Tropical Island is always a great time, and the vibes of the board are great. I love the island aesthetic. Bowser surfing up on the little stupid shell and then giving you the tube that he says you're too fat for. And it's always the best feeling ever when somebody else that you've been beefing with the whole game, it's their turn to go to the Bowser space and their turn to get body image issues. And then you get this really nice little thing of the two Yoshis that were separated. They come together at the end of the game, and it's always just so wholesome. And then you got Peach's birthday cake, which, you know, you can set traps via piranha plants around the board that kind of steal stars like they're freaking landmines. And this one always has a nice little vibe to it. And it's always fun watching somebody pick the wrong seed and get sent over to Bowser. Especially when you know that all the other seeds have been picked, and then that guy is screwed because you can't avoid picking the seeds and you know which one he's getting next. And the mini games are a lot of fun in this one. Well, as long as you're good at spinning the analog stick. If you aren't, you're screwed. And you can 1v1 me in Mushroom Mix-Up. I'm gonna win every time. Just saying. And also, I could just lay back and sit on that main menu and just sit and vibe to the Mushroom Village music for a good long while and just be at peace. Even if I have played better Mario Party since this one, objectively speaking, I always have a great time playing this one, and it's a game that I'm never not going to love. But what really took up my time besides Mario Party were the Pokemon games. These were awesome. Pokemon Snap was probably my favorite. This was a game where you photograph Pokemon in their natural habitat, just living their lives, shooting the shit. This is still easily the best Pokemon spin-off series in my opinion. It's fantastic. And I think it was the first 64 game I ever beat. I was so proud of myself when I finally got that photo of the mythical Pokemon Mew that I've coveted for so long. Everything about this game is great and so full of life. All the environments are so bright and beautiful, with every Pokemon in every area being a part of an intricate puzzle that can lead up to the perfect photo opportunity. Pokemon Snap is just a fun, nostalgic field trip, and it's great, even though I really need to call into question Professor Oak's grading skills. What is your scale, my man? This photo's good, but this one sucks? That just doesn't make sense to me.
You were close.
You were close. You were close to getting a fist in your face. But if I wanted to see some real shit, I would boot up Pokemon Stadium and have these incredible action-packed Pokemon battles in 3D. And since I grew up with Pokemon Black and Pokemon Diamond, I didn't get to normally use all these old original Pokemon, so having all these Gen 1 Pokemon at my disposal was just the best. When I eventually got my hands on a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue from a flea market, I would spend even more time on my Nintendo 64 playing Pokemon Blue on the big screen, since Pokemon Stadium lets you play red, blue, and yellow with the transfer pack with the Game Boy Tower. This was just the coolest thing ever to play a Pokemon game on the big screen. It's a novelty that is never worn off, even now. You can get this nice little border there, it was cool. And in general, I still play Pokemon Stadium just because it's a great way to just have Pokemon battles super quick with random Pokemon instead of building a team yourself. Just pick from all these crappy rental Pokemon and let the good times roll. One of my favorite things to do in Pokemon Stadium was to do our own little custom game mode that we came up with. Me and my brother would pick each other's teams while the other would go in the other room and wait for the other to finish picking the horrible team comp. But usually we would make a rule where you would get to pick at least one of the Pokemon on your team, but other than that, have fun with Caterpie. And then there were the mini games. These were fun to play every now and then, if not for the novelty of it. The Clefairy game feels like subliminal messaging though. And I even eventually found the Prima guide for this game, which would tell you how to beat the tournaments. Even though I never actually beat any of the tournaments because the strategies they gave you didn't matter because all the Pokemon that knew Psychic were just gonna win anyway. This is one of my favorite games on the system, and it probably always will be. Pokemon was killing it on this console. And I didn't even have Stadium 2, and that just seems like in general, just a complete improvement. But what I had with Stadium 1 was enough for me. It was fantastic. That was what was awesome about Stadium. Just good old-fashioned Pokemon fun. I still think back to that time period of my life where everything seemed so simple. That was also before I hit puberty, so that might have had something to do with it. Anxiety doesn't happen until you're a teenager, after all. I had more games for the 64, but those were the games that stick out in my mind the most as core memories. I distinctly remember specific moments playing the 64 like they were yesterday, when in reality, they were like 12 years ago. There's no telling how many hours I would spend staring at that big-ass CRT TV in the living room, watching as these charming early 3D models would dance across my television screen, and it just gets me feeling all nostalgic and warm. So now, I'd like to take a little trip down memory lane. I'm gonna just talk about all my memories with all the games in my 64 collection, which isn't as big as you would think for me to make a whole video dedicated to it, but this was just a video idea that felt right to make anyway. But for now, let's relive a few old memories. So to relive these memories, I'm just gonna go through every game in my 64 collection and go over my memories with them. They aren't your memories, they're mine. I might not have the same story with these games that you did. I might have a bit of an odd story with some of these games.
That's right. You must kill Ron DeSantis.
So, let's start up with the first game on my list. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This one was really overwhelming to me as a kid, and I didn't get very far into it, but I still appreciated it for what it was. I just wished I was better at the game, because I could never beat it until I was in my late teens. The Prima Guide only helped me so much, and no internet connection at my dad's house made it really hard to look up stuff at times. I definitely enjoy it a lot more now than I did then, and it's one of my favorite entries in the Zelda series. This game has an amazing sense of adventure, and it does a great job of placing you in this hero's journey narrative, and the world feels so alive with so much shit to do and goofy people to interact with. It's great. And Ocarina of Time will always be an all-time classic. And even though I finished the game on the 3DS version, I still think it's worth playing on the original hardware, because it just feels right. This game is a great time, unless we're talking about the water temple. Ugh. Paper Mario was a game I didn't finish until a few years ago. But I remember when I first got the game, I would play on the save files that were already on the cartridge, and it already made a lot of progress. So I could play past the parts of the game I couldn't beat myself, and I would just go explore the creepy ass woods, and I had no clue what I was doing. I also would play through the intro over and over again, because Luigi would follow you around, and I was sure I would be able to finish the game if I started it over again. And I would quickly get distracted and start playing another game. But after finishing the game semi-recently, I can safely say this game was great. Fantastic music, timeless art style, amazing places to visit, and a great battle system. No wonder the Paper Mario series took off like it did. This game is amazing. I mean, there was nothing like heading up to Shooting Star Summit for the first time and getting completely taken in by the beautiful visuals and music. And that sense of wonder stays with you the whole game. Paper Mario is incredible, and I can't recommend it enough. Man, I gotta play this one again. Jet Force Gemini was a strange little game that I was always curious about, but I've played maybe 30 minutes of it because the game would never really work, and even when it did, I couldn't figure out what the hell to do, and my beat to hell copy is apparently a property of Blockbuster, which is probably the coolest thing about this game in my eyes. I just remember a dog and a Mega Man looking guy, and wandering around and getting lost and being confused. That's about all I remember. But now that it's on Nintendo Switch Online, I can see if I was missing out on anything. But as far as memories with this game goes, unfortunately, I don't have many. Don't worry, I played more games than this, and I played them longer than this too. Mortal Kombat Trilogy was a game that I played a decent amount, but I had no clue how to do anything in this game. I would just do your basic punches and kicks with no clue how to do any combos or fatalities, and with the nightmare that is the N64 controller, I wouldn't wish playing a competitive fighting game with this controller on my worst enemy. I also lost this game for a number of years, and it took me so long to find, I assumed that someone had stolen it from my house when they came over, and I just never said anything because I had no proof. But about a year or so ago, I found it just under, behind a desk or something, and I was so excited to unearth what I thought was a lost treasure. I still haven't played it since I found it. Super Smash Bros. Was one of the games I had played on my cousin's N64 and always wanted a copy of my own. And when I finally got my own copy, I played it a decent amount, but honestly, I probably had more playtime on my cousin's cartridge. I guess once I got the game myself, the magic disappeared a little bit because it wasn't an occasion to play the game anymore, it was just Tuesday. Also, I know I made that comment about fighting games on the N64 controller, but this one's different. If you play Smash 64 and you're being super competitive and annoying about it, then shame on you. This is just supposed to be mindless fun where you just slap Luigi around, but it's always a fun time to boot this game up for fun every now and then. And you can't beat good old-fashioned Smash Bros. And this is bare bones Smash Bros at its best. It's not nearly as good as any of the other entries, but I can never say that I didn't have fun playing it, even if it's just for a match or two. I love this game, and I'm proud to own it. Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. I only ever played the first level where you're on Hoth and you try to use the tow cables to pull down the AT-ATs. But I remember thinking that this was insanely cool, even though I could never beat it, and apparently it goes from being a mediocre spaceship pilot game to a mediocre action game. This was also one of the games I had that barely worked. But when it would, I always would give the Hoth level another honest attempt. This game was a pretty cool novelty. I just kinda hate that it doesn't really work and I can't really get much footage for it because obviously it doesn't work. Next up, Mario Golf. This one always was really boring to me. I would pop it in to watch the wholesome little opening movie, and I always liked how at the end Wario would mumble,
Should have been called Wario Golf. You're gonna love it.
Other than that, I actually kinda hated this game. I probably would like it a bit more now, but I've never been a huge golf game guy. I did play a PGA game with my stepdad a lot, and there were great memories because we would goof off in the character creator of that game, and it was fun. But Mario Golf didn't give me that same joy that I had playing that random golf game with my stepdad. Hell, if you played the story mode, you had to unlock all the characters you actually cared about. You would start with Baby Mario and who the fuck is Plum? But I was always jealous that my brother had Mario Tennis, which was actually fun, and had a cooler opening movie, and it was just an infinitely better game. But I was stuck with Mario Golf. I mean, at least the title screen and the cartridge look cool, but I'd really like to get my own copy of Mario Tennis someday.
This game has multiple hours of tennis with Mario characters. It's so fun, the gameplay is epic, and you already have most of the characters before you even play.
Oh yeah? Well, this one, you can play as Baby Mario and Plum, you know? Brand new character, Plum. And you can play golf. It's really fun, I promise. I promise it's fun. I promise it's fun. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
You poor boy.
Star Fox 64 has an interesting story on how I acquired it. I was over at a friend's house one night, just hanging out at his apartment, and at one point during the night, I just started talking to his dad about how I had a Nintendo 64. And I had mentioned that I never played Star Fox 64 before, and his response to that was, "Here, take it." And he just gave me the game. I told him I couldn't just take it, but he was like, "Don't worry about it, I've already played it a bunch back in the day, so it's a gift." So I just got a high quality 64 game for just talking about the game on coincidence. And it was a game I could never get very far in as a kid because it was kind of hard. but I still think it was awesome, and I do still think that it's one of the cooler games on the 64, just visually. And I recently beat the 3DS version of the game that I picked up used on a whim. That seems to be a habit of mine, to beat the remakes of 64 games rather than the original versions. Because that happened with Ocarina of Time and Mario 64 and Majora's Mask too, technically, but I never owned the 64 version of that one. But this is an epic little space shooter that is iconic, and of course, the origin of the classic meme. And the characters are still super charming. I need to actually go back and beat the original version just to see the difference, and honestly, even though I wasn't very good at it as a kid, I always had a great time with it. It's just so neat seeing these really high quality models on the 64, which couldn't always make the best looking models. This game looked great. Still does, in my opinion. Now we got Star Wars Episode 1, Battle for Naboo. This was another game in my collection that I don't have a lot of experience with. This one, I played it for a little bit, but it just didn't really interest me at the time. But I remember just crashing into buildings or something and getting stuck. I don't think this one was broken or anything, but I just didn't really click with this one. I would try it, and then I would just go back to trying to beat the river level in Pokemon Snap. But both of the Star Wars games that I had, I definitely remember them having really cool and accurate sound effects. They would definitely give a retired Stormtrooper PTSD if they played these games. Can't say this one is bad or anything, but I can't say much of anything about this one. Definitely thought Shadows of the Empire was better, because, you know, it had the better opening 10 minutes.
Mario Party 3! You would think I would be all over this one, considering how much I loved the original Mario Party.
I would have a lot to say about this one, but my copy is Japanese, so I only really got to the main menu. My dad got me this one thinking it would be a cool version of the game to have, and to be fair, it is pretty cool. But Mario Party requires a lot of reading to understand what to do on the board and the instructions for the minigames. And I didn't really feel like translating the whole game just to play it. I feel like it would just devolve into homework. And we also had to take the back off of another cartridge just to get it to play on my 64.
Because 64s in different regions have different back of the cartridge shapes, just as a weird roundabout way of region locking their games.
But, I mean, Mario Party 3 was available in English. I don't know, it was always kind of strange. And then, after fixing up the cartridge, I couldn't change the language to English on it. It's a really cool keepsake, but I can't really play it. But I guess I can give it a shot on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, but it just doesn't feel quite the same. But maybe one day. Rayman 2, The Great Escape. This game is one I have tried again and again, but I just never could really get into it. It's not a bad game at all, it just wasn't really hitting for me at the time. But the game looks like it gets very fun the further into the game you get, but I never got past the first few levels. It seems like a very dark game at first, but then it looks like it gets very colorful. And I like how the characters do the goofy Banjo-Kazooie talking thing, where they just speak in gibberish and bees and buzz.
Do you want to make me moan this too? No, it's better. Now it's too. Come Bruce
And the thing that still never fails to catch my attention whenever I look in my 64 drawer is the broccoli green cartridge. And I love the color green, but this color just doesn't really mesh well with the rest of my bright gray cartridges. But a different color cartridge that does actually look kind of nice is Donkey Kong 64. This was a game that I had for years, but never got to play because I didn't have the expansion pack. Since I got my copy used, I didn't get the free expansion pack that originally came with the game. So this was a game that I could just look at and dream. And when I finally got my hands on a secondhand expansion pack, I finally got to lay eyes on the DK wrap in all its glory. No matter how you feel about the rest of the game, the DK wrap is, objectively speaking, art at its finest. Also, this game is gorgeous. The models look fantastic and the colors are so bright and pretty. No wonder it required this fabled expansion pack. It needed all that additional RAM to make something this fantastic. I played this game quite a bit, and by quite a bit, I mean I quit not long after unlocking Diddy Kong. I immediately began to lose interest once I realized you have to constantly switch between Kongs to get their specific collectibles, and every time you need to switch characters, you have to go all the way back to the character barrel, and to me, that was way too tedious. I want to give this game another shot at some point, because I feel like there is something great here. It's just heavily misguided. Great music though. On the topic of rareware though, Banjo-Kazooie. Somebody wrote play on my cartridge in permanent marker, and whoever that was, I hate you for that. I would play this game for hours. I loved it. The music was great. The levels were so creative and fun. And I loved all the characters talking with their and Kazooie is such an asshole, but she is a national treasure. Banjo-Kazooie just oozes quality and charm. But I only ever got to Clanker's Cavern in the 64 version as a kid. It was another one of those games I would get stuck on and try to start over fresh to beat it, and never did. The most experience I have with the game as a whole was with the Xbox Live arcade port of the game, which, besides Sea of Thieves, is the only good thing that ever came out of Rareware being purchased by Microsoft. This version is just the definitive way to play Banjo-Kazooie. The music notes and Jinjos you collect in the level are saved, so you only have to collect them once, whereas the 64 version, all the stuff would respawn every time you died or left the level, making it a bitch to keep track of what you have and what you haven't collected. And I almost 100%ed this game. The only reason I didn't was because I took a long break from the game, so I kind of forget what I did and didn't have. So I just decided to finish the game instead. And the Grunty's game show section of the game is a bitch and a half to play if you drop the game for a year, because it relies a lot on your memory of every little thing in the game. And I also have the Prima guides for Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie that my cousin gave me, which is just awesome to have. I never really got that far into Banjo-Tooie because honestly, I don't really like Banjo-Tooie. I didn't even have it on the 64, I had it on the Xbox version. It just doesn't hit the same. Maybe I'll try it again sometime, but I don't even have a cartridge of Banjo-Tooie, so it's not really relevant to a video about my 64 collection, but I figured I would mention it. The best Banjo-Kazooie level, by far, is Treasure Trove Cove, and I will die on that hill. It's the first thing that comes to mind when somebody says Banjo-Kazooie. Well, that and the awesome theme song. This is a masterpiece. Another Rareware game, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Elephant in the room? This is a bootleg cartridge. When I ordered it off of Amazon like 6 years ago, I obviously couldn't tell it was bootleg. I was a little bummed about it being a bootleg, but I didn't care. I had heard countless times that this was a must play, and play I did. This game is hilarious. I mean, come on, there's a boss fight against a giant mountain of shit that sings an opera ballad to you. It's disgustingly brilliant.
Great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
Seriously, the visuals here make me want to hurl. And I'm still kind of shocked that Nintendo published this game, especially back during the N64 era. Especially with all the inappropriate shit that happens in this game, all from the word go. But I love it. Unless we're talking about the dinosaur lava race level that can suck a fat one. And the fact that the game is always trying new gameplay styles can be fun, but a lot of time they are really awkward and kind of annoying. And the thing that really sucks is I was almost finished with this game. Then it just started to crash over and over again, all in the same section of the game. So unfortunately, I've never been able to finish it. I guess I can get the Rare Replay collection and finish it that way, but I hate that I have to start it over because then I have to play the stupid dinosaur level again. Oh well, in the end, I think it'll be worth it. Alright, Yoshi's Story. Whenever I think of this game, the first thing that comes to mind is when you beat a level, the Yoshi sing a song, and it sounds like they're singing, "The asshole, the asshole." I heard that on a parody of Yoshi's Story a long time ago, but it remains in my brain since it's actually a nice little tune the Yoshis perform for you as a reward for beating a level. Putting all that aside, I love Yoshi's Story. It was the first Yoshi game I ever beat. I mean, I assume I beat the game. I only had to beat 6 levels to win. And I remember seeing credits, because every time you beat a level, the Yoshis get really happy, and the page turns. And then you pick a new level on the next page. Okay, I guess I did it. The game is kind of short, but don't let that fool you. It's actually pretty easy to lose completely. Every time you die in this game, you lose one of the brightly colored bastards for good. You actually can get a Yoshi back if you find a white shy guy in a level. He'll go into the castle and bring one of them back out, kind of evening the playing field if you get a little too screwed over. But it's always fun to decide which dino dude you fancy before trying or retrying a level. I think you can unlock a black or white Yoshi, but I never figured out how to do this as a kid. I like that pink Yoshi is on the cartridge art, because to me it puts emphasis on the fact that you can play as multiple colored Yoshis, which isn't new, but it's cool. And this game just has a beautiful art style with the pop-up book aesthetic, and the 3D looking 2D models have aged very well. Seriously, this game is one of the best looking games on the 64. Everything here looks great, and the music is really nice, and there's no baby Mario to annoy the hell out of you in this game. So that's always a plus. This is definitely one of the stronger entries in the Yoshi series, and I was always so happy to have it be a part of my collection. It's also one of the best looking cartridges in my library. Nobody drew on it or ripped a sticker off or anything. I love this little game. It's always a good time. This one, you might not think of when you think of Nintendo 64. Resident Evil 2 was the last new game I played on the 64. I had previously tried to buy this specific version of RE2 because it was slightly less expensive than the original PS2 version that was listed on Amazon. And I had ordered it and everything, but then the order got canceled for some reason. I still don't really know why that fell through. And by complete coincidence, my mom would be going on a weekend beach trip to celebrate a personal achievement of hers, and she mentioned she would check out the store that I liked the last time we went there, and if she saw any games I'd been looking to get, she would get them as Christmas presents. Side note, my mom's the best. And this store she was referring to is an awesome retro game store that to this day has had the best selection of retro games and consoles of any store I've ever been to. The last time I was there, they even had a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness themed GameCube, and entire display cases full of Super Nintendo and 64 and Sega Genesis games. And it's not just some lame sports games nobody wants, I'm talking great quality titles. See? Okay, maybe not the best example of great stuff I've gotten there, but that's just to give you an idea of how varied their stock is. I really need to go again soon and get some cool footage next time I go. I'm getting sidetracked. But any good story has exposition, so it's all good. I showed my mom a list of stuff I had on my collecting radar like she told me to. And among other things, one of the games she got me was Resident Evil 2 for the N64, which was the version I had tried to get. I was so excited to finally have the chance to play the OG RE2, and other than a few crashes in the very beginning of the game, where you're running away from the zombies after the truck explodes, I didn't have many technical issues besides that. And just like its remake, Resident Evil 2 is a great title, and having one of the more unique versions of this game has never lost its wow factor for me. I mean, this game shouldn't even work. The FMV cutscenes and the game as a whole shouldn't even be able to fit on a Nintendo 64 cartridge. But Angel Studios somehow pulled it off. I'm sure the name had nothing to do with the programming miracle this took. The only thing they really had to remove to compensate were the bonus modes, which weren't really something I would cry over, you know? Especially since the base game of Resi 2 is just so strong. And this version apparently has a randomizer mode you unlock after beating the game, which I just learned about. I mean, there's definitely a reason why the remake of 2 did so well, and it's the strong foundation its original counterpart already laid down. And the chess piece puzzle isn't fucking annoying like it is in the remake. Because of course, Capcom, I would love to learn all the names of the game pieces of a board game I have next to no experience with just to solve one stupid puzzle that's definitely better than just putting the pieces in the machine and being done with it 100%. Got a little sidetracked, I'm sorry. And I've since downloaded the original RE2 on my PS3, and it's less likely to crash on there, but I don't know, you just can't beat the novelty of popping in one of your more rare video games and giving it a spin. I loved this game so much because I finally got a chance to experience the original Resident Evil 2 for the first time because of this version. And as massive of a Resident Evil fan that I am, that meant the world to me. Especially since this game isn't nearly as accessible to the average person as it used to be. I'm incredibly lucky that my mom was thoughtful enough to nab this one for me. It's a great time. Can't beat Resident Evil 2. And that was the last new game in my Nintendo 64 collection that I played. And man, was it a hell of a last addition to my lineup. Well, second to last. There's one more game that I have. For some reason, I haven't played Mario Party 2 yet. I bought it from that same store at the beach my mom bought me Resident Evil 2 from while on vacation last year. I had saved up some cash and splurged a bit on some retro games and was determined if I saw Mario Party 2 that I would finally get my hands on it. And sure enough, there it was in a display case with a light shining down on it as if it were a sign from above. And it was saying, spend a shit ton of money on this game. It was finally mine, and yet, I still haven't played it. Despite coveting this prize for so long, I actually was playing Mario Party 6 and a little bit of 7 that I also got on the same trip. I did a coin toss and Mario Party 6 won, and as of now, it's my favorite Mario Party. 7 is fine. And it won the coin toss between it and Mario Party 2 after I beat 6, and honestly, I was a little relieved that it did. This game has evaded my grasp for years, and now that I finally have it, I'm a little intimidated, if I'm honest. What if this game isn't as fun as everyone says it is? What if I like Mario Party 1 better? Why is Donkey Kong a wizard in this game? What if it doesn't exceed my expectations like I want it to? Well, who cares? One thing I've learned on this retrospective of my childhood experiences with the Nintendo 64 is that something that I can't really do now that I could back then is that I used to just play a game for fun, without a care in the world. If I didn't beat it, no worries, you can always just play it later. Just have fun. That's what video games are supposed to be, right? I should just pop this game in and have a great old time just playing for the fun of it and try to recapture that same warm feeling that I would get when I played the original Mario Party. I can safely assume one thing. This will probably be a fun Mario Party 2.
Boo! You stink!
I'm sorry, I had to. It's kind of odd to realize as much as I've played the Nintendo 64 throughout my life, I have finished shockingly little of my library. And some of them, I played the ports of them instead, but I don't care. This console always takes me back to a time where I didn't care about finishing as many games as I possibly could. I was content with just booting a game up and just playing without purpose, and just playing to my heart's content, and I'll always have nostalgia for that feeling. This console scratched the retro itch in the back of my mind, but it quickly became a rash that needed to be scratched more and more. And one Christmas morning, I opened another box from my dad, and inside was the Nintendo GameCube. And from then on, I was hooked. I wasn't gonna stop with the N64 and the Game Boy. I had to keep collecting, and the Nintendo 64 was just the beginning of something beautiful. The GameCube will definitely get a video like this of its own at some point, I'm sure. But looking back, I didn't have that many games for this console in comparison to my other retro game collections. And I'm kind of, honestly, shocked that I haven't finished everything here. It seems so feasible. And one day, I hope that that's the case. That it's something that I do. And to you, maybe my Nintendo 64 game collection doesn't really look like much. But to me, it was everything.
It's a me, a Wario. You should subscribe. It'd make Wario feel better. And Wario's been going through it a little bit lately. It would make Wario's day. And you know, follow your dreams. That's what Wario should have done. Wario was going to be an accountant. Do you know that about Wario? Now Wario just plays Marvel Rivals all day. And he's still in fucking bronze. Wario could have been a dancer, a singer. Wario was talented. But now he's just bronze in Marvel Rivals. You should subscribe. Come back. Come here. Wario's not done talking to you. I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win. I'm a Wario.